In the early kingdoms of any Odyssey run, one particular kingdom tries its best to stand out. Sand Kingdom is pretty known for just being, well, pretty stupid. It has a lot of difficult stuff, a lot of things that seem to just randomly go wrong, and a lot of difficult tiny time saves. So how exactly do we go about bundling all of that up into one concrete package? Well, what we can do, of course, is consider subscribing. We have more kingdom improvement videos in the works, and even some other tutorials scheduled for release that you won't want to miss out on. But before we begin, we have to touch on DSTA. DSTA, or Daylight Savings Time Abuse, is a strat we can use in Odyssey to force the seed moons to grow almost instantly. Dangers recently posted a good video all about the topic, so if you haven't already seen that, I highly recommend watching that first, as it will give you all of the baseline knowledge you need to understand before watching this video. This trick isn't exclusive to Sand Kingdom, but within the any percent route, sand is its only use. With that swept under the rug, let's begin. Once you've entered Sand Kingdom, you want to be making sure your cutscene skipping is on point. The bird in this kingdom actually starts moving during these cutscenes, so if you skip them too late, the bird might be way too far away and you could potentially miss it. Then, once you've successfully caused Cappy to stop talking, initiate a roll. Roll boost approximately 3 times, then allow Mario to simply roll his way down the hill slightly before continuing to roll boost again. Allowing Mario to roll down hills like this is faster. You may remember the same thing from Cap Kingdom. When you're rolling as Mario, it is much easier to make adjustments to your direction while you're not roll boosting than when you are. So as you're heading towards the seed, briefly stopping those roll boosts will allow you to turn more sharply to line yourself up better as you're turning the corner, before roll boosting again once you're on the right trajectory. During one of these rolls, it is also opportunistic to press and hold Y so you don't have to time the seed grab coming up and can instead just walk directly into it. Once I've come around the corner, I like to roll boost one final time, then run directly into the seed. Then, as you were already holding Y, Mario should just instantly pick it up, so all you have to do is press Y again to throw the seed into the middle pot directly in front of you. Then we have a decision to make. DSTA movement is arguably the worst part about the whole DSTA route. I made up my own movement for this specifically because I disliked the more widely adopted method. So let's touch on both. The more common method of doing DSTA movement is once you've thrown the seed in the pot, backflip, then at the peak of the backflip, throw Cappy towards this railing and dive. Doing a neutral bounce, then diving again to land on the railing. Then continuing forward with your momentum, cap diving and diving into the moon. The reason this movement has never really clicked with me is just due to all the stupid stuff that can occur because of it. There are a few points of contention. The first being that this cactus has an obnoxiously large hitbox, meaning it can interact with Cappy and force him to return to you, which means you'll dive and have no Cappy to land on, causing you to bonk. The next is, of course, the dreaded blanket, or towel, or whatever, that's hanging over the railing. If Cappy interacts with this at all, either the same thing will happen, or it'll lag out the game and cause you to not get your dive input, which is equally as frustrating. What I ended up doing was looking at this movement and trying to find my own way around this problem, so that I wasn't bonking in Sand Kingdom every single run. What I came up with is definitely not the fastest method, and will definitely lose time compared to the more direct method of getting up, and only really works if you're more comfortable with Shireen bounces, but at the end of the day, it's definitely faster than having Cappy disappear and bonking into the cactus. So what I choose to do is backflip, throw out and hold Cappy against the wall in front of you, then dive into him and neutral bounce. Then, at the peak of Mario's bounce, throw Cappy towards this corner of the building and dive. I also shake here to get Cappy to return back to me straight away. Then I do a max height jump. Normally, if Cappy comes back properly, I get a Cappy return jump. Delay slightly, then throw Cappy towards the moon and dive. If you don't get a Cappy return jump here, it can be a bit tight, so cap diving earlier instead of doing this delayed dive might help mitigate some more bonk potential. Once you've collected this chapel moon, you're going to want to pull Mario out of it, then curve around so you can long jump and dive towards the bird to get the bird moon here. Then, once collected, the time at which I grab this bird allows me to hold down left on my analog stick, then dive to end up directly in front of the pipe, so I can instantly spin pound into it. The positioning of this bird will of course depend on how fast you've done everything up until this point, so what I'm explaining here might not look the same for you, and this one is unfortunately one of the ones you're going to have to lab out for your own timings to figure out what works perfectly for you. Once you've gained control of Mario after entering the rumble room, jump, then instantly throw Cappy towards the top right, then dive. Buffer spin pound during the dive, and once you land, spin pound. The moon will spawn basically in this general area, but here is where you really want to be aiming. I like to move towards towards the right of the moon's hitbox so that I can just instantly dive towards the pipe upon exiting without having to worry about bonking onto it. Now that we've exited Rumble Room, our next moon is that seed moon we planted earlier. Again, this seed will only be fully grown if you planted it within your DSTA window. So, assuming that all went well, once you come out of the pipe, if you're like the fancy boys, you can simply walk over the edge here and break open the seed easy peasy, just like that. But I've never figured out how to get that to work consistently. So the method that's always worked for me is to simply jump once you land and using this cactus as your visual cue, ground pounding. I've always managed to have this work a large majority of the time, so it's kind of just what I've stuck to. Once you've ground pounded, if you hit the seed, jump up to get the maximum height, then capstall against the wall, then jump into the moon. The idea behind getting as high as possible is so that we can get over the fence. You can of course dive through the gap at the end of the fence and make your way over there instead, but I've just preferred going over. Doing so does require some understanding of how high you need to be though, otherwise you will simply bonk into it and waste time. This understanding isn't something that can be easily explained as there isn't any visual cues or anything like that. It's simply a feeling thing based on countless hours of trial and error. If you go over, buffer a spin pound during the dive, then spin pound into this hole in the wall. If you go to the left of the fence, you can technically also spin pound into it, but the angle is super awkward and isn't as easy to figure out, so simply walking up to the hole and rolling into it might work best. Bonking on the back side of this wall is optimal, as it will allow you to instantly turn Mario to the right so you can roll into employees only. Once inside, as soon as you gain control of Mario, roll and roll boost into the moon. Then, once you grab the moon, buffer a spin pound and spin pound towards the door. Then, just before it, roll cancel into it. This allows Mario to open the door slightly earlier as he isn't in the rolling animation for longer. As you're exiting employees only, buffer a spin pound, then spin pound towards the dune. Try your best to avoid this ice thing in the wall, as it has the possibility of randomly shooting Mario in literally any direction that isn't the direction you want to go. Then once you're past that gauntlet, roll boost up the dune. When you're rolling up the dune itself, as soon as you see the sky become visible, use that as a visual cue to roll cancel and dive forward. You can buffer a spin pound and instantly spin pound on the moon this way. This cue might need some adjusting for you personally, depending on your rolls and the way your momentum gets cancelled, but this cue specifically has worked for me for as long as I've known how to roll cancel, and I don't see many people using it. Once you've activated the moon, swing the camera around like so. You want to adjust the camera like this so you don't have to fuss around with Mario after collecting this moon, and you can just instantly dive. So of course, once you've collected the moon, simply dive, then recenter the camera with a bumper button. Then similar to the beginning of Sand Kingdom, allow Mario to roll down the hill for the most part before beginning to roll boost. Then continue roll boosting towards the ice pillar, jumping off this little sand hill at its apex, then cap diving and diving onto the ice pillar. If you're an ultra risky gamer, you can do a side flip here, but I don't recommend it as it has a far higher chance of causing value dives, so my recommendation is to simply stick to a backflip into a neutral cap dive, and finally a dive to get on top, and simply jumping and diving to the second level, then roll boosting into the moon. Then next up, we need to head towards our dram movement. As is tradition at this point, I'm not going to go incredibly in depth on this one, as I do already have a dram video up on the channel that can help you nail down this strat specifically, but we will briefly touch on it for the sake of consistency. After you've collected the moon, buffer a spin pound, then spin pound to the left towards our upcoming alcove moon. If you get good RNG and can roll in between the Goombas, do a roll boost. If not, simply do a triple jump and avoid them. Dive on top of the wall, then backflip. Dive forward, neutral bounce, cap throw, dive on top, long jump, up throw, turn, dive, dive again, then shake before grabbing the moon. Then, once you warp up because of Dram, do any of the movement choices I explained in my Dram video. There are quite a few of them, so it's not really a good idea for me to bog up this video with the specifics of movement I've explained before, but take the movement you're currently doing, then watch my Dram video if you feel you're not doing it optimally enough. I know that isn't a perfect solution for this series, but there really is just a whole lot of decent choices for movement here, and it would take far too long to go in depth for all of them. So, just to mention what I do at least. I do the single bill variant of the movement, which means after I warp up top, I uncapture this bill to keep him alive, then dive over to break open the box moon. Then I quickly make my way over to the moon that just spawned, before capturing the bill again to take him all the way over to the lone pillar moon. Again, if you want a more in-depth description, reference my Dram video for a better look. Once you're approaching the lone pillar moon, uncapture the bullet bill and dive into the moon. Crashing into the pillar as the bill here can result in being unable to input anything to cancel Mario's momentum, and can result in you rolling straight off the edge, so uncapturing here is pretty generally recommended. Then of course, buffering a spin pound pound, then after the moon animation, spin pounding towards the bottom right. Once you're on the ground, you basically want to take a straight line towards this area off in the distance. We do this with 8 roll boosts, all directly after one another, followed by a roll cancel into a triple jump. You can ensure that you don't get a Cappy return jump here by holding out Cappy until just before you input the final jump. Then cap diving and wall jumping off the wall before cap throwing towards the wall and diving on top. You want to make sure that this movement makes you end up as far to the left here as you can get without going so far left that you end up bonking on this raised section in the wall. The reason you want to be as far left here is because it actually causes the bullet build to spawn ever so slightly earlier, which actually saves, I think it was close to 0.5 seconds. I might be wrong on this, but it was quite a bit. Once you're up, avoid the flower boost thing and capture the bullet bill. Center the camera with a bumper button. This sometimes requires several presses to fully center the bill. Then hold Y and boost forward as the bill. Then as you're turning the corner, do the bullet bill speed strat by letting go of Y and shaking again. This honestly might not even be faster, but it's a good way to start getting used to dealing with bullet bills at max speed. Grab that moon, then once the animation is done, dive, roll boost twice, and spin throw roll cancel while holding towards the left to capture the next bill that is spawned. If you're not a spin throw roll cancel gamer, a normal roll cancel works fine here too. Then begin heading towards this moon out in the open, making sure to start up the bullet bill speed strat again, hold Y, shake, let go of Y, then instantly shake again. You can normally get 2 shakes in here before collecting this moon, then an additional 2 heading towards Jaxie skip. And speaking of, when heading towards this wall, make sure to aim for this pillar in the wall as it has the least jank collision and will allow you to do Jaxie skip without getting absolutely rejected and falling to your death. Crash into the wall as the bullet bill, then Mario should be wall sliding, allowing you to instantly wall jump. Wait until you're far enough away from the wall, then hold forward and spin throw, then instantly dive. The spin throw should activate the chest, then you should be able to just jump, aim, and throw Cappy towards the second chest, then shake to home into the chest. Then just jump into the moon. I normally like to grab this moon from the right side so that I better align myself with the corner of the platform that you're on, but once the moon is collected, try your best to aim towards that corner of the platform and dive. Depending on how far back in the moon's hitbox you grab it, will determine if you need to pull back on this dive or not, but there is usually more than enough room to clear this dive. Then roll boost off the edge. Continue roll boosting forward, staying close to the edge of the poison for a tighter line. Then as you approach the bend, stop boosting so you can turn the corner and aim towards the cactus. Then begin roll boosting again. Once you begin to approach the cactus, stop roll boosting and rolling. Then as Mario comes out of the roll, jump and spin throw. The spin throw can quite literally reach like a goddamn football field away. You don't need to be right up close to the cactus to get it to connect. So I really recommend trying this for yourself at varying distances to figure out exactly what does and doesn't work so you're not losing time to rolling too much. Then once you've captured the cactus, technically the optimal strat is to move the cactus to the right, but I've always hated that and it's never felt natural to me, so pick your direction and move it a single hop over. Then uncapture, move over the top of the moon, and ground pound to spawn the moon. As you're jumping back up, once again, position the camera to face away from the hill you're about to roll up so you don't have to fiddle around with moving Mario and can instead instantly dive. So of course, once you've grabbed the moon, do so. Dive and begin rolling up the hill, making sure to not go too far right so you don't end up over the edge, then continue roll boosting towards where the birds gather moon. Jumping over the edge of this ledge into buffering a spin pound is the way most generally do this, as continuing to roll over the edge and buffering a spin during the roll is hard as heck, and getting the angle just right is tough. But once you've grabbed this gathering moon, the next and final moon of Sand Kingdom is the Notes moon. I do have a whole video going over this entire sequence of movement in detail, so if you want to learn exactly how to do that, I do recommend checking that out. But again, for the sake of consistency, I'll go over things here. Turn around and dive. Roll boost 3 times, then once on the ice, roll boost once, roll cancel, vault, cap dive, dive, buffer a spin, go up the tree while holding towards the right, then long jump to the other tree and grab the final notes. Jumping into the moon, then land and warp to the Odyssey. And then finally, that's it. You throw Cappy at the globe, and you're out of Sand Kingdom. Everyone's worst nightmare in the very early game. But with that out of the way, you can now make your way over to Lake Kingdom and chill out for a while. Unless you're following along with my Lake Kingdom video, in which case it's kinda still really bad. But anyway, gamers, if you're interested in maybe seeing some of these videos being worked on live, or you have any questions regarding Sand or any other Odyssey Kingdom, head on over to my Twitch channel. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. I'll see you in the next one.